successful sniper in U.S. military history. His friends called him the Legend. His enemies called him the Devil.
You're looking for a weapon, you're trying to see what someone's eyes look like.
His fatal shots made him a military hero.
Kept a lot of Marines and soldiers alive.
His life story now captivating millions.
Every person I killed, I have a clear conscience of.
Amid the chaos of warfare, the sniper is a special breed. He is the first line of defense, providing cover for troops on the ground. A long-range marksman, picking out targets up to a mile away. Constantly on the hunt for enemy fighters and RPG teams. It's a solitary role, and often the deadliest one. They live by the motto, one shot, one kill. And the one with the most kills in American history is Navy SEAL Chris Kyle. Kyle served 4 tours of duty and was responsible for more individual deaths than any other U.S. soldier, with 160 confirmed kills. His book, aptly named American Sniper, documents his time on the battlefield and beyond. NBC News' Lester Holt met the man behind the legend at a shooting range in Texas before his tragic death.
In the movies, they always go for the headshot. That's not what you did.
No, sir. I mean, this is so much easier to miss than this is.
You clearly had enthusiasm for war. You believed in what you were doing.
I've brought up extremely patriotic. So if my country's going to go to war, whether I believe in the politics behind it or not, I definitely want to be there. And it's not for bloodlust. It's to make sure that I can protect anyone that's out there. I hate seeing the little tickers on the bottom of the television screen saying, 3 more died today. I feel like I should be out there doing my part as long as I'm a willing, able-bodied person.
Did you ever have any sense of remorse or any lingering feelings about taking a life?
No. Every person I killed, I have a clear conscience of, because they were actively trying to harm Americans, the allies, or the civilians.
He is haunted more by the saves he didn't make than the kills he did.
When you're out there overwatching and one of your guys or even one of the troops that you're entrusted with goes down, you feel like a failure. I mean, you didn't do your job good enough to provide that protection that they are asking of you.
He was this great warrior. He was responsible for not just taking lives, but saving so many lives on the battlefield.
Long-range marksmanship takes a special blend of precision, raw nerve, and cool, calculating skill. And Kyle established himself as an expert with his bolt-action rifle. The .300 caliber Winchester Magnum, his weapon of choice. This lethal engineering marvel is known for its accuracy on the battlefield. Bullets leave the barrel at an average speed of 3,000 feet per second. Over 6 years in the combat theater, Kyle carried this weapon, racking up the kills that would make him an almost mythic figure.
The number 160 kills, it obviously makes for a bold, attention-getting headline. But when you were taking down insurgents, were you thinking numbers?
Not at all. Everyone says I'm the most lethal. I may have the most number of kills, but I'm not the best sniper. So I don't want to be bragging about the numbers. If I could figure out a number of people I saved, that's something I would brag about.
The awkwardness with which Chris received praise was something he'd never really become comfortable with. In his world, he was simply just doing his job.
Quiet, humble, Kyle became a larger-than-life figure on the battlefield. Not just a shooter, but a leader. With a special ability to see the entire combat zone, staying one step ahead of the enemy. Observing, anticipating. As SEAL Team 3 Chief, he was the man on Overwatch duty, up high protecting the troops, the man they trusted to look out for them. Chris would make his mark off the battlefield as well, writing the book on modern urban warfare. He was chief instructor of the Navy's Special Warfare Sniper Teams, and now his story has been brought to the screen in the film American Sniper.
I'm willing to meet my creator and ask for every shot that I took.
It's a story so compelling, so intense, it has resonated with millions of Americans.
Some sort of savior complex? I just want to get the bad guys, but if I can't see them, I can't shoot them. All these guys, they know your name. They feel invincible.
But where did that reputation begin? What turned a soldier into a legend? His road to the battlefield begins in small-town Texas. He wants to be a cowboy, but he suffers an accident while competing at a rodeo. A horse flipped on its back while still in its chute, leaving Chris with broken ribs and metal screws in his wrist. He turns his attention to joining the Navy, but the SEALs won't take him at first. Then, in 1999, he gets his shot. A chance to make it through the most punishing training regimen on Earth. The infamous Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, or BUDS. The failure rate is 90%.
My BUDS instructors always said, no matter how bad it gets here, it's going to be worse when you get out there. And I remember laying there going, you're crazy. This hurts so bad. But it definitely helps prepare you. They want to make sure you're mentally strong enough to be able to do it, and then also they build you up physically.
The SEAL training course is grueling, designed to weed out the weak. It culminates with 132 hours of straight exercise, the famed Hell Week. The SEAL motto, the only easy day was yesterday. In fact, the training is just getting started. Like all SEALs, he'll spend another year and a half doing specialty work, small unit tactics, urban combat, platoon warfare.
It's 90% mental. As long as you can get your mind wrapped around it, you can force your body to follow.
Kyle receives his coveted Navy Trident and is assigned to SEAL Team 3 in Coronado, California, an elite brotherhood of fighting men. He's not yet a sniper, but he's already a good shot, so he begins training to shoot long range. To hit center mass, he learns to slow his breathing, enabling him to shoot between his heartbeats.
Everything that you might imagine can impact the trajectory of a bullet flying through the air. So that's wind, that's humidity, that's temperature.
Then there's the subtle pull of gravity.
You have to shoot up in order to hit a target further out.
The long-range marksman has to adjust approximately 1 inch for every 100 yards. And to account for spin drift, the force that causes the spinning bullet to rotate off-axis up and away from the center line. After nearly 3 years of training, Kyle is ready to fight for his country. At home, he's a newlywed. That first goodbye is a difficult one, but as Kyle puts it, duty calls. The separation is even more difficult for his wife, Taya.
It's definitely terrifying. I thought, now you're putting all of us at risk, because if we lose you, we lost everything.
2003. The initial invasion of Iraq is underway. The boots hit the ground, and Kyle arrives with the Navy SEALs.
When we were out there showing the local Iraqi population that we were going to come in and we were going to set things right by taking these insurgents out, the insurgents were coming in and ruling the land by putting fear in the hearts of those people.
Marching north along the Iraqi border, Kyle will soon face his first real test, his first life or death decision. Covering a patrol unit, he spots an unlikely danger, an adversary he never expected.
I definitely didn't know how we'd be able to handle it. Morally growing up, you should never kill anyone.
In 1 split second, he must decide, can he pull the trigger? next, Chris Kyle is tested for the first time. And the enemy puts a bounty on his head. He's the most lethal sniper in American history. The man they call the Legend. In 2003, while dispatched with Charlie Platoon on the march north into Nasiriyah, Chris Kyle would begin to use what would become one of his most important skills, observation. Because a sniper is not just a sharpshooter, he's a watcher of men.
You're trying to find anything that's out of the ordinary. You're looking for anything that's, shiny. You're looking for a weapon. You're trying to see what someone's eyes look like. You're definitely trying to pick out the abnormal. So you have to learn the culture of where you're going to try to figure out what doesn't fit in.
You really can get to know a person through a scope, at 700, 800 yards. You can see them blink. You can see them smoke. You can probably tell if they showered that day.
In March 2003, Kyle sees something through his scope that doesn't fit in at all. A woman holding a grenade approaching an American patrol unit. His real-life experience is reenacted in the movie American Sniper, with the dramatic addition of a child.
Hold on, I got a woman and a kid 200 yards out, moving towards a convoy.
Kyle has to make his first life or death decision.
When you're a sniper, you're making decisions by yourself. You don't have this entire support infrastructure, and a tremendous mental and emotional burden is put on you, and most of us don't have to fight that way.
Kyle's first kill, as tough as it is, will be needed to save the lives of many American troops. It's a shot he'll never forget.
The very first one, you don't know if you can kill a man. You think you can, especially if you're out there for your country and you got your brothers on the right and left of you. You definitely think you can do it, but you don't know, and there's hesitation the first time.
You're looking through the scope. You're seeing the person that's about to die.
Oh, yes, sir. Definitely. And then you zoom in and it brings them up close.
By the end of his first tour, the Navy brass realized just how good a marksman he is, and train him for the next level, to be not just a sharpshooter, but a sniper.
It's not just marksmanship. The vast majority of people in sniper school fail for being unable to stalk targets on the battlefield, which is really the ability to move undetected through an area and sneak up on a target, find yourself in a position where you can take a final firing shot.
He learns concealment and positioning, the best place for the shot, known as the hide. Rooftops with low retaining walls, upper story windows in apartment buildings.
Concealment is really an art form. In an urban setting, the best concealment is shadows. A shadowed, dark room that has a deep offset from the window. The deeper you go, the further in the shadows you'll get.
He also learns the deadly science of terminal ballistics, the best shot to make the kill.
I generally would not take a headshot. That's a smaller area and bigger chance of me missing. So I would go center mass, so I wouldn't stare at people's faces. I would watch their actions, and when they show me that they're going to bring violence to the troops, to our allies, or to the civilians, then I'm going to zoom in on their chest and take them out.
By 2004, the war rages on. Insurgents have overrun the city of Fallujah. Kyle is tasked to fight in Operation Phantom Fury. Assigned to Overwatch duty, his mission is to find the best observation point to cover the Marines from Kilo Company as they go house to house, clearing the urban streets of insurgents.
They would take down a building, I would go to the top, and then overwatch them as far as I could once they got to another building.
It's some of the heaviest urban combat for U.S. Marines since Vietnam. And Chris can't stay above the action. He makes a call that will become part of his legend. Against regulations, he decides to go down into the street to lead the troops.
I got tired of seeing the Marines being carted out from being shot up. So I handed my sniper rifle off to a Marine and took his M16 and decided to go down and be the point man for him.
Kyle is starting to become more than just a SEAL, more than just a sniper.
Chris was a leader in the military. If you're one grade higher, one rank higher than anyone else, then you have a responsibility to lead, and Chris knew that about himself.
His next mission in Ramadi will cement his legend. By now, his feats of marksmanship are steeped in lore. He shoots 2 insurgents with a single bullet as they ride tandem on a moped. With his tattoo of a red St. George cross, he becomes an almost mythic figure, revered by U.S. troops, feared by the enemy. They name him Al-Shaitan Ramadi, the Devil of Ramadi.
That's a big tattoo coming down the arm that they saw and got to be recognizable, so anytime a sniper was taking a shot, they just were associating that with me.
And they put a bounty on your head.
They did. 20,000. It gave me pride, knowing that I was doing my job enough to get in the minds of the terrorists and make them fearful of me. Thinking, okay, I actually have an effect on the war now.
But the war is entering a new, more brutal phase. Some of the most vicious combat is still to come. Up next, Chris Kyle takes aim at the enemy from over a mile away. Chris Kyle is known as the Devil of Ramadi, the most prolific sniper in American military history. His philosophy, like that of other U.S. snipers, kill 1 man, terrorize 1,000.
Certainly the number of kills is a factor when you're talking about who the best sniper of all time is, but he kept a lot of Marines and soldiers alive. And that's a sense of purpose that you receive from that as a human being is really incomparable in any other walk of life.
From 2003 to 2008, Kyle is credited with dozens of kills. On his 4th tour of Iraq, Kyle is tasked with securing Baghdad's Green Zone. He's armed with a new weapon of choice, a .338 Lapua, developed specifically to hunt down long-range targets. It's a machine designed to penetrate 5 layers of military body armor. He looks through the scope and spots an adversary in the far, far distance. It's not a sniper, but someone even more dangerous.
I saw an insurgent, and so the movement had me zoom my scope in on him, try to figure out what he was doing, and then I saw he had an RPG.
An RPG, or rocket-propelled grenade, is a rocket with an explosive warhead, unleashed by Iraqi insurgents on U.S. infantry and armored vehicles.
He was trying to hide, stay out of sight of him, and then about the time I saw he was getting into an attack position, raising the RPG, I decided it was time to take the shot.
He's more than a mile away from the enemy, the length of 21 football fields. And Kyle knows that the farther he is from his target, the harder it is to make the shot.
That's about 1.2 miles.
Yes, sir.
Do they train you for a shot that far?
In training, I think the longest I ever took was about 2,000.
He factors in the elements around him, adjusting for the elevation and the wind values between him and his target. The viewfinder has the magnifying power of a telescope, making the enemy appear to be 25 times closer.
Technology is so good now, especially with the optics, that I can definitely see farther than I can shoot. And then these awesome weapon systems that we have can definitely reach out there.
Still, it's no easy task estimating the bullet's flight. Wind will steer the bullet off course over the distance, and gravity will drag it down.
A good sniper isn't sitting there with a calculator and notepad and a pencil making precise calculations. They're doing this through muscle memory and repetition.
Kyle compensates for the outside conditions by overshooting his target. Then,
Lucky shot?
Extremely lucky shot.
You fully admit it?
Oh, yes, sir. I don't know. I could do it again.
Yeah, 1.2 mile shot, that's a hell of a shot. You got to have, a pretty good windage calculation. You got to have a pretty good elevation adjustment. You got to have certainly a slow and steady trigger pull. At the end of the day, you got to have God on your side to make that shot. And anybody that tells you otherwise is probably a liar.
The shot adds to the Chris Kyle legend. At home, his wife Taya knows little about his achievements. She avoids watching news reports about the war. Still, she doesn't need the media to tell her about the dangers confronting her husband.
At one point, you were actually on the phone with her during an operation. She heard more than you wanted her to hear.
Yes, sir.
It's a scene that would be recreated in American Sniper.
You think it's going to be quiet, and it's not.
And then suddenly you're under attack.
Yes, sir.
And she heard it.
Yes, sir.
How did she deal with that?
As you'd expect a wife would deal with it.
Yes, sir.
Despite the dangers, Kyle continues to redeploy, increasing the strain on his marriage as Taya raises their 2 children.
You want to die? Is that what it is? I always thought somebody else could do it too. You've done your time. I understand more now. His heart was just had this deep, deep need to protect, and he felt like he was letting people down when he wasn't out there.
And the war shows no sign of abating. At one point, a bullet crashes into a room where Kyle is positioned. By sheer coincidence, he slips and falls before it can strike him.
You fell on your back, and a bullet comes crashing through.
Yes, sir.
And everybody in the room thought you were hit.
Yes, sir. They all thought I was dead.
Calling your name?
Yes, sir. Well, they just said, Chris is dead. I definitely felt God was protecting me. I had a guardian angel out there.
But he wonders how long he can continue defying the odds, particularly while remembering his 2006 deployment, when 2 close friends were shot in front of him within a few hours.
SEALs for the longest time weren't getting killed. So it you have this own sense of superhuman. SEALs just don't get hurt. And then when my buddies started dying, then it takes a big toll on you.
Was there also a sense of personal invincibility that it can't happen to me?
Yes, sir. I definitely felt that way until my last deployment when I took 2 rounds within 2 minutes and thought, okay, this is where it all ends.
One hit your vest.
One hit me across top of the head and the other one in the back. And I thought I was going to be my last stand.
After 4 tours of combat, Chris Kyle is ready to come home. But away from the bombs and bullets, his biggest challenge is about to begin. In 2009, after 4 tours of Iraq, Chris Kyle returns to his wife and 2 children for good. In battle, the most lethal sniper in American military history has earned 2 silver and 5 bronze stars. But the conflict doesn't end when he leaves the war zone.
Coming home's a hard deal because you physically get here and then you desperately and urgently try to find passion back here because there's an element of physicality to all men that I think kind of domestic life doesn't make available to you.
Day to day, Kyle can't escape the war zone, and for several months he tries to dull his more difficult memories through alcohol.
Got this weird message that you were on a plane or something?
Yeah, I got it early.
Director Clint Eastwood later depicts Kyle's problems assimilating into civilian life.
I'm here on stateside.
You're home? What are you doing?
I guess I just needed a minute. One of the things about the bar scene that's important is he was by himself, and that's how you feel. Coming home from having that period of purpose is a challenge, and the movie portrays that.
Babe, come home, okay? You know, we miss you.
Okay.
When he first gets home, Kyle feels depressed, shutting himself in much of the day.
Did you have your own form of post-traumatic stress?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody, after you come back from a wartime deployment, you're going to have combat stress. You might have sweats or dreams.
At night, Kyle throws punches into the air while asleep, forcing Taya to repeatedly call his name until he wakes up.
Chris said, you know, there would probably be something wrong with you if you could watch somebody die and not have it affect you. Now, for him, it was watching Americans die. That's what hurt him, and so definitely he had to get his head around the loss that he felt.
But now he begins to rehabilitate himself with the determination of a Navy SEAL. He calls on his combat expertise to launch a company offering customized training to law enforcement and the military.
I'm trying to do everything I can to still feel like I'm giving back, and I am trying to give them enough skill sets to where they have another tool for their toolbox that hopefully it'll come in handy and maybe save someone's life.
Kyle keeps watch over his fellow veterans, helping them address the complications facing them every day.
You know, I think you find a lot of yourself in these younger guys. And so in some ways you're treating your own challenges indirectly when you're working alongside them. As in Iraq, Kyle mentors by example, bonding with his fellow vets during hunting trips and visits to the shooting range and weight room. I could tell he'd been hitting the weights hard, and he goes, hey, good pain pushes out bad pain. You know, you're going to have pain, it's our life, but you can either have good pain or bad pain, so at some point you can be the master of which pain you're enduring right now.
In 2012, Kyle puts his story to paper, releasing the autobiography that would eventually inspire the movie American Sniper.
There were two guys that were actively seeking to write a book about me. So I figured if someone's going to do it, I'm going to do it.
The book forces him to relive every difficult moment in battle.
Talking about all of it, I felt like I got run over by a Mack truck. It was definitely hard, and all the emotions are coming back, and it's vivid in your mind.
Kyle is hesitant about mentioning his number of kills in battle.
I didn't even want the number in the book. The publisher is the one that made that call, and it was to sell books. I could care less about the numbers.
The book becomes a #1 bestseller, transforming Chris Kyle into a media sensation.
Why do you think your story has caught such a nerve in this country? It's so fascinating for so many people.
Honestly, I think it's because I don't hold anything back. I talk freely. I'm not worried about political correctness, and it's not a story just about Navy SEALs or anything unique to me. It's every combat vet's story and the hardships that they go through, and it's just raising the awareness of all the troops.
Coming up, Kyle has found a place for himself back home. But when he offers to help a troubled vet, disaster strikes.
My brother just came by here. He's now left, and he told me that he's committed a murder.
After 4 punishing deployments and 160 kills in Iraq, Navy SEAL sharpshooter Chris Kyle finds new focus. By early 2013, the success of Kyle's autobiography earns him a second book deal, and actor Bradley Cooper secures the rights to produce the film adaptation of American Sniper.
I just have tremendous respect for what he did, and I think that's the main thing about this movie is that if it succeeds at all, it will, in a sense, that people that may not know what really goes on with vets and with soldiers, what they have to deal with balancing home life and being abroad, you just cannot not have respect for that.
Since retiring from the military, Kyle has found renewed purpose in mentoring fellow veterans struggling with life off the battlefield.
Some people are definitely coming back with PTSD, and I want to try to figure out everything I can do possibly to help those guys.
Chris was kind of ascending into this role as a leader in the veteran community, just like he'd been in the SEAL teams. And as he became a civilian, what he began to realize is, hey, here's what I'm good at out here.
It's on a routine winter day as Kyle drops his children off at school that a woman asks for help. Her son, 25-year-old Eddie Ray Ralph, is a former Marine suffering from PTSD. Without hesitation, Kyle answers the call of duty. On February 2nd, 2013, Chris Kyle and his friend Chad Littlefield take Ralph on a therapeutic outing to a shooting range 90 miles away. As a small arms technician, Ralph served on tours in Iraq and Haiti before leaving the Marines in 2010. Kyle hopes the long drive will allow the young vet to open up about his troubles.
He was going to go down and spend some time in the car, letting him talk for a little bit, spend a very short amount of time shooting, and then spend some time on the way back and be able to give him some resources, hopefully, and some places to turn to and see what he could do.
Inside the 11,000-acre Rough Creek Lodge, on a remote rifle range that Kyle himself helped design, the unthinkable happens. Ralph unravels. The disturbed vet turns his pistol on Kyle and Littlefield, shooting them dead at point-blank range. There are no witnesses. Ralph flees the scene in Kyle's truck and confesses to his sister about the killings.
Listen, my brother just came by here. He's now left, and he told me that he's committed a murder. He said that he killed two guys. They went out to a shooting range. And he's all crazy. He's psychotic.
The bodies of Chris Kyle and Chad Littlefield are found by a hunting guide.
The suspect has been arrested in the murders of former Navy SEAL sniper Chris Kyle and a friend at a Central Texas shooting range. Eddie Ray Ralph, a 25-year-old Iraq War veteran, is charged.
1 week later, under an overcast sky, an American warrior is given a true hero's farewell. Nearly 7,000 people gather at the home of the Dallas Cowboys to honor Kyle's life.
We may feel sadness and loss. Know this. Legends never die. And Chris Kyle is not gone. Chris Kyle is everywhere. He is the fabric of the freedom that blesses the people of this great nation.
One after the other, the men who served with Kyle rise to the podium in tribute, but they do not give their names. In military form, they are an anonymous brigade mourning the loss of one of their own.
You know, who I am doesn't matter. I was Chris Kyle's friend. I think that's the title we would all wear most proudly in front of you today. We were Chris Kyle's friends. We were his teammates. We're his brothers.
Even the most hardened of soldiers crack during Taya's emotional eulogy.
I stand before you, a broken woman, but I am now and always will be the wife of a man who is a warrior both on and off the battlefield. Some people along the way have told Chris that through it all, he was lucky I stayed with him. I'm standing before you now to set the record straight. Remember this. I am the one who is literally, in every sense of the word, blessed that Chris stayed with me.
The next morning, hundreds of Patriot Guard riders descend on Kyle's hometown to escort his body along the 200-mile route to Texas State Cemetery in Austin. Americans turn out in droves to salute the fallen soldier as the funeral procession moves through the state 10 miles deep.
The outpouring after he died was more than I think anyone would have expected. It was awe-inspiring. It was one of the most impressive displays of patriotism I've ever seen.
It was amazing to see everything stop for just those moments. And I think that's a little bit of the magic of Chris, and that Chris had managed to balance this spectacular, legendary person who he very much was with this everyman.
At the private gravesite ceremony, more than 100 Navy SEALs pound their trident pins into Kyle's casket, decorating the war veteran with gold medals in one final display of respect.
I think he would have been honored. I think he would have felt very humbled. Lots of men and women came together to make something amazing happen to honor his life.
Americans line roadways and overpasses to pay their final respects to Navy SEAL Chris Kyle. His shocking death occurs just as the film based on his life is gaining momentum.
It absolutely changed everything. You know, it all just becomes very real and heartbreaking. The fact that he came home after 4 tours and then he was murdered on American soil.
Clint Eastwood has the challenge of directing the project. He finds Kyle's story compelling because it's about more than war.
The thing that haunts me are all the guys that I couldn't save. I'm willing and able to be there, but I'm not. I'm here. I quit.
It never came down to being just an action movie. I don't think I'd have been involved with that or had any interest in that because I've been there and done that in my life. I thought this one is a little bit unique. A lot of different things went through my head, but after a while you just embrace the story and you don't look back.
Well, in that case, what's your name?
Taya.
Taya, I'm Chris Kyle. Nice to meet you.
It was accompanied by the stress of departing all the time and always on the go, coming back, getting refamiliar with his family, and then going back into combat, and of which it seemed like second nature to him.
Bradley Cooper had planned on getting to know Kyle to research his role, but only gets to speak to him once on the phone before his murder. Cooper has to rely on Kyle's family to absorb his character.
It's really a lot due to, in part, what Taya opened up to us. I mean, we really got a sense of what their lives were like and what he was like through her and her children. And then there's just so much source material. I mean, she has so many videos. We'd all of their email exchanges while he was on the 4 tours. And then there's just so much out there of the interviews that he's done.
For Cooper, taking on the role of the larger-than-life Chris Kyle is no easy task.
I mean, I'm biased because I sort of just fell in love with the guy from doing it. You know, I just have tremendous respect for what he did. To me, every time you play a role, the first thing you have to do is believe you're the character. And if you don't do that, there isn't a chance in hell that anybody else is going to believe you. And I just knew in order for me to even begin to believe I was him, I had to first of all sound like him and have his gait.
To many of those close to Chris Kyle, the portrayal on screen is eerie.
So many people have used that exact word because he captures the nuances and the subtleties that you probably aren't aware of if you've known Chris, met him, liked him. we don't study people to that level, but Bradley did, and he brought it to the screen.
Okay, thank you.
It was amazing, really, doing the dialect, which is really hard to do, and getting his mannerisms down. I knew that Bradley put in so much more than he had to, truly.
But getting Kyle's mannerisms down is only part of the transformation. Cooper decides to seriously bulk up to play the much larger Navy SEAL. He gains 40 pounds of muscle for the role.
I was $185 back then, so I just had to get to that size. It just changes the way you move through life. And the fact that he was a real guy. Before I shot the movie, a couple people would come up and say, you have a lot of guts trying to think you can play this guy, including his father. But then once we got there was just a sense on set. It almost felt like Chris was there.
One of the great challenges we have as veterans that have lost people is, man, how do I tell you about this person? How do I tell you about the things that you only knew if you knew them? And one of the things I love about the movie is you kind of got to know Chris in the movie. There were 3 or 4 times during the movie where I literally just forgot I was watching an actor. I thought I was watching Chris.
Kyle's story has captivated millions and has exposed the unspoken conflicts that accompany military life. War comes home with those who serve.
The military couples that I've talked to who have seen it have said they've had the exact same conversations as we show in American Sniper.
Okay, I need you to be human again.
It's very, very difficult for a man to tell you, a husband to tell you, I'm doing this for you and for our kids and our family, and for a spouse to feel like, it doesn't feel like it's for me.
Why don't you come down to the VA sometime? Guys will love it. They all know who the legend is.
I think Chris would be proud of the movie, and I think he would quickly turn the attention and steward the attention in a way to encourage and challenge other people, because that's just who he was.
Just as the film has captured the attention of millions, so has the trial of Eddie Ray Ralph, Kyle's killer. Ralph has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity and faces life in prison if convicted. Ralph's trial and the release of American Sniper brings renewed focus to Kyle's life and shocking death. And while the film has garnered critical and financial success, those who knew Chris Kyle say that bringing awareness to the sacrifice of those who serve will be the most important part of his legacy.
He had, an ability to give to and bless a lot of veterans by helping them in the same way.
The minute the movie's over, there may be a smattering of awkward applause, but then there's just silence. Not because they don't know what they're feeling, but they don't know how to distill what they're feeling into words. And so a beautifully stunned silence speaks volumes to me.
He chose war because he knew that he was protecting people. He was too humble to say, I'm saving lives every day out there, and I can't stand the thought of not doing that.